Greetings, folks. It's the Independent Black Voters Speak. Our voice is not free. I'm here. This is Brian Harris, host of the Independent Black Voters Speak, and my co-host, Mr. Richard Harvey. How you doing, Richard?
Hello, everyone. Hello, Brian. It's good to be back again. We just finished up our first Bob show for 2020, and we're jumping right into the IBV votes, like independent black votes. And our political season of 2020, with all those Democratic debates that we've had and what Trump's doing with the impeachment, is going to be an exciting year.
It is, man. It's going to be exciting, and that's why it's important that we continue to keep the focus on us. So, folks, you know, it's interesting. I've been out to go out and I've met with and talked with various of the candidates or their people that are running. And when I'm there, the one question I want to ask is, what are you going to do for the black community specifically? Because many times I go there, they want to talk about minorities, diversities, they want us to talk about the LGB, they want to talk about women, but they want to lump us into the minority tag. And let's be frank. Our agenda is not everybody else's agenda. We have a different history. We have multiple issues to address that are specifically in the black community. What do you think, Richard?
We do. Our last show, we talked about HIV and AIDS awareness in the black community specifically, and this was something that came onto the public scenes in the 80s, and we're still talking about it today. And the numbers were astonishing with how it's impacting us in the black community. And we know one of the hotbed issues in the political race for this the presidency, especially on a national level, is healthcare.
Yep.
And where are we and where we're going with it?
Yep, you're correct. Healthcare is a major issue. And the interesting thing is, when I talk about the black man's agenda or one black man's agenda, I believe healthcare is important, but I think economic inequality, is specifically in the black community, has to be discussed in detail, because if you know our history, Black America built America, and a lot of the lands were stolen. A lot of the things that happened in the last 400 years have been specifically to depress the black economic opportunities, and has put us in a situation unique to every other minority. They say that by 2053, Black America will have no wealth. They don't say by 2053 LGBT, by 2053 Hispanic, by 2053 the women. They specifically say that Black America will have no wealth in America. So I would say this: if America is only as strong as its weakest link, and they're telling us specifically that the black community is the weakest link economically, then when you talk to me, don't talk to me about minorities, don't talk to me about other groups, talk to me specifically about the black agenda, specifically about black economics. What do you think, Richard?
You're passionate about that, your views on it. You know, it's something you can't ignore. It's one of those things you can't ignore when you get information that the wealth in 2053 amongst the black group is going to be pretty much nil or none. You have to take action. You can't I won't sit idle and just let it happen. You have to be what they say, progressive and make a plan and take action.
Absolutely. And it's funny.
Yeah,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Those other things is like, we wait for them to show us how. No, we know who we are. It's not rocket science. We can figure this thing out. It's like we don't need them to show us how. We just need to know what we need to do and take action. Make a plan and take action.
Absolutely, saving ourselves through black economics. And the key is, we're not looking for the politicians to save us. A lot of times we want them to get out of our way. We'll say this: reparations is a debt owed. It is truly owed to black America when you look at the 400 years of hell that was given to specifically the black community. But going a step forward further, when you look at what goes down with the politicians today, it's the same old same. Well, early in the election, they'll talk about reparations, a debt that is truly owed, and that goes away. Lately, they've thrown in the HBCUs and said, we'll give them some money, talk about that. But they don't talk about black economics. One of the things I stress to people is the biggest redistributor of wealth in America is the federal government. And many of the things that can be done today by just changing some of the structures of the way the government is enacting their procurement, deciding who gets contracts, the definition of small business, the allocation of funds that were designed to assist economically depressed areas were changed, you would see a wealth of growth in the black community, but more importantly in the black business community, instead of gentrification.
Well, how can that happen? It gotta happen through our system of government.
Absolutely.
It happened through voting, it happened through getting the right people in the right places and hold them accountable to do what they say they're gonna do. That's the reason that they're voted in. And that's when we see change. Other than that, it's one of those things where you're pushing the boulder uphill. And if you don't know a route or a plan or easier way to do that, to get that boulder up that hill, that's going to be an enormous task to take. Through our system of government, if the funds are distributed through the government, and we know it comes to government officials, we got to get the right people in to do the right thing.
You're right, but we also have to have our agenda with it, because here's the thing that bothers me a lot as a black man. The Democratic Party does a lot of data structuring to see where they're going to spend their dollars, where they're going to point their emphasis on voting. They statistically say black women vote, so we'll focus on black women. They statistically say that black people are concerned about getting rid of Donald Trump. But when you pull polls that were done by black people on consulting, number one, it says that our biggest agenda is not getting rid of Donald Trump. It's that our agenda is not being addressed. It is that we are not being talked to about specifically the black agenda. Yes, getting rid of Donald Trump is important, but if we don't have an agenda that is economically and socially based, but more economically, then we get more of the same. No matter who is president and who holds the houses, we must have an agenda and a commitment from whoever is in the party to give us more than getting rid of Donald Trump.
How do you plan to go about doing that, Brian? I mean, you said the agenda. I think you defined what you would like to see that agenda to look like earlier, and help me understand what are the 3 key points that you want to see that happens on this agenda to define the agenda.
Well, social justice is important, but economic are the base, and having more detail in economics is important, but also voting with an agenda to the point where we don't just go for the best guy. I mean, a lot of people say that Biden pretty much owns the black vote because he was the vice president with President Obama. So therefore, if you look at his agenda, he does not talk much about the black community in detail and what needs to happen to change the trajectory to zero. We've given him our vote or our commitment without an agenda, and therefore the other people that are fighting for our vote have given up because they believe that Biden has our vote, so therefore they're not focusing money, time, and effort to earn our vote. And that hurts us a whole lot, because if the assumption is that Vice President Biden has our vote without our agenda, we will lose. Right now, it is very important that we force all of the candidates, when they have town halls, to come in and talk to us about our agendas. And don't just bring the pastors, because I love the pastors, but they aren't businessmen. You need to bring in people who understand both business and even the government issues, because I talked about the reallocation of government. Many people don't understand. There are a lot of programs like New Market tax credits. New Market's tax credits were designed to influx investment into poor neighborhoods, i.e. black communities, with tax credits for the rich, where they could invest and they were guaranteed a return on their investment. But the way the system is set up, all this money is run through what they call CDCs. CDCs are 98% white. So what happens is
CDC.
a CDC it's a development center that's used to review and determine where these dollars are allocated to or what projects. So these are the people, once the credits are obtained from the federal government, they determine who gets to spend the money and where it goes. And if 98% of the CDCs are white, the lion's share of the money goes to businesses that are white.
So how does that change? That 90% of the CDC administration is white. How did you change that?
By bringing on more black CDCs, by changing.
Now, is that a publicly held office? Tell me more about that office. How did you become a CDC?
That is an office. You have to apply for it. You have to apply to be a CDC. But the way everything is structured now, obviously with 98% of them being white, we need to basically have some mandates that say X percentage of them will be black business owned so that they can come in. A good friend of mine, Mr. Ernest Fountain, used to be a CDC. He was one of the few CDCs in America.
And the acronym for that CDC, do you know?
Community Development Center, I believe. I may be incorrect on it, but I believe it's Community Development. I can't remember the last word for it. But overall, again, they're designed in a way that the money goes into the community, but it does not go into African American businesses, which creates African American jobs. The same can be said for how they run the small business loans. SBAs are set up where a percentage, I think it's 85%, a high percentage of the loan is guaranteed by the federal government. Well, one of the things that happened was they raised the definition of small business, so they have multi-million-dollar companies that qualify as small businesses. They're asking for tens of millions of dollars. If I'm a Bank of America, which usually is the larger banks control them, they're going to take the safe bet and go for the multi-million-dollar small businesses versus the small mom and pops that need 50, 100, 200,000. They're going to be less responsive to give them the loans. They will show us one or two successes, but in reality, the percentages of small business loans for black people has been declining rapidly because of the way things are set up. Plus, guess what? Who controls this? Are the big banks. Why not put them into historically black banks? Why not have a definition or design it so that black businesses would be weighted in a way that there would be more dollars that would come into our communities versus them going the way they are now?
The awareness of just knowing what a CDC is and how it's administrated with the government is something that I like this program that brings to the community and to the audience. And having an understanding from what you know about it, Brian, is a value that's needed. But I'd like to go back to one of the things you said earlier. You said that the politicians out there, we know when they're looking for the black vote, they go straight to the churches. But if not the preachers to advance the agenda that we're talking about, we're going back to that agenda, who are some of the people that can advance the black agenda that you think? Who are they?
Well, black businessmen. I think it's important.
So I got black businessmen and who else?
And women, black business people that have an understanding of how business works.
And who else besides them?
There should be community advocates that understand how business works. We are not a non-profit country. We are a for-profit country. Unfortunately, we've been brainwashed as black people to become nonprofits because of the tax benefits. So we have to educate our people on being entrepreneurs and the advantage of being for-profit entrepreneurs. But when we speak to the politicians, we need to understand what's happening. A lot of people can tell you, let me give you another, the Department of Transportation has minority set-asides. They were put together initially for black people, but now that they are a minority, they've actually changed it to disadvantage. So less than 1% of the transportation contracts are awarded to black companies. So it's really about having people who have a knowledge of what's going on governmental, that really understand that the rules have been changed so that we celebrate our demise. We're supposed to be happy that there's been an increase in women businesses. And I am happy to a point, but when you realize that it is predominantly white women who have the financial backing of their husbands, their husbands, their kids, siblings, whatever, they are just backing them so they keep all the money in the same pot. You're not seeing more diversity, you're seeing less diversity. The labels have been changed to have acceptable diversity, which is strangleholding real diversity, which means that black business is dying, and that's one of the reasons that our opportunities are dying in our communities. One of the reasons that gentrification or the acceleration of gentrification is happening because we are not demanding specific items that will drive more resources, opportunity, and self-determination into the black community.
Well said. I have no comment on that. The words itself describe the situation. Gentrification is nothing new. I mean, it's prevalent now. We see growth here in Las Vegas like we've never seen. I mean, since the early 2000s, it's starting to happen again. Everywhere you go here now, you see something that's happening. The percentage of black-owned businesses. We like to get those numbers and see what kind of new businesses are coming up that are black-owned.
Absolutely. And folks, I don't care who you support. If you support Biden, Warren, Steyer, the list goes on and on. When you get in front of them, talk to them about the issues in the black community. Don't get tied into talking about the issues that everybody else is dealing with. One of the things that any candidate who's talked to me will say, I will tell them, I'm not here to talk about minorities. I'm not here to talk about other issues. I'm here to talk about issues prevalent in the black community and give me solutions. Because you have to understand, every other person asks those questions, and they should be economic based. If we start to globally ask questions and demand answers and tell them our vote is not free, and unless you can give us a detailed financial economic reason to vote for you, you will not get my vote. So, this is the first part of the new independent black voters. Our vote is not free. We will be talking about a lot of issues as we go forward. We'll be talking about the candidates. We'll be inviting candidates to come in, their surrogates to come in. I've been fortunate enough, I talked to one of Bernie Sanders' surrogates just recently, Nina Turner. She is a phenomenal woman. Outstanding. She impressed the heck out of me.
Who did you speak to?
Nina Turner. She is a phenomenal woman. She's a congresswoman. She is just fire. I've been able to meet and talk to Tom Steyer. I'm going to tell you something. That man is the real deal. If you talk to him one-on-one or you meet with him, he is passionate. He's talked about the need to give real history to America because a lot of people who are not African American, they have been fed this phony history and therefore don't understand some of the reasons that black people are owed reparations, what black people have been done to them to impede our ability to economically advance. He's a great guy there. As a matter of fact, he's going to have a town hall meeting today at 6:30, and I encourage you to go out and listen to this man, listen to Bernie Sanders, listen to Elizabeth Warren, but more importantly, don't just listen. Demand that they listen to us, and demand that they listen to our solutions, and not just give us their solutions and what they heard from the small few that are giving them giving them advice on the black agenda. We need to know economically what we need, and we need to demand that the candidate of choice commit to do certain things, because Donald Trump has shown you the power of the presidency. If you want to make something happen, you can make something happen. So we will determine, we're a swing vote. We stay home, Donald Trump wins. We come out and vote in force, Donald Trump loses. We may only be 13%, but we are a swing vote, and we need to be respected as the people that can make the difference on who's in the White House, and say it's time to talk about us.
I agree. Brian, I think this was a great show. Looking forward to doing more, and I would just say to the audience, stay tuned. One thing I would like to say in part, vote Las Vegas, vote America. Just support it. Vote. Coming in here it was great. Just coming into the facility, there was a young woman out there just registering people for voting. So get out and vote.
And vote with an agenda, folks. Vote with agenda. Again, this is the new day. This is 2020. The Independent Black Voters Speak. My buddy here, my road dog, Richard Harvey, Brian Harris, as we will bring in people that will talk about the black agenda and develop solutions. Until next week, my brother, I'll see you when I see you.
Stay tuned, Las Vegas. Stay tuned. We'll be back next week. Done.
That's good stuff.
We'll get it. We'll get it up and rolling.
See, I'm about to send that to Axel, who's with the Tom Sawyer's group, and I'm gonna send it to what's her name, with Bernie Sanders' group.
Lisa?
Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we need to get some people looking at this. I'm gonna send this out to a bunch of people and say, please take a minute to look at this. Same thing.
But when we do this, we gotta switch our shirts, man. We gotta bring those shirts in.
Hey, you're right. I actually had this one on. I just didn't take it off.
Yeah. Cause I got my shirt when we do the vote. We just got. That's all we gotta wear.
Exactly.
Wear that like Run DMC did the black Adidas. We wear that when we do the show. So I keep one of those in my bag when we do the show. We just wear that, and that's what they associate us with.